thought my parents divorced because they couldn't get along. But then I found something that proved it was never about love at all. The secret nearly destroyed us, and once you hear it, you'll understand why. Subscribe now because this is just the beginning. By the way, if this story already has you thinking about your own family secrets, don't forget to subscribe. Trust me, you don't want to miss what's about to be revealed next. I don't usually talk about this. Most days I pretend it never happened. But sometimes, when I look in the mirror, I see pieces of that secret staring back at me like I inherited more than just my parents' faces. Everyone thinks they know why my parents got divorced. At least that's the story we let them believe. He cheated. She couldn't handle the pressure. They grew apart. Those were the whispers, the rumors, the easier truths people fed themselves. But none of it was the real reason. The truth, the untold secret, has been sitting inside me for years, heavy and suffocating, waiting for someone to finally listen. I was 13 when everything fell apart. Old enough to notice, too young to fully understand. The yelling at night, the slammed doors, the way my mom's face hardened, like stone, every time Dad walked into the room. I used to press a pillow over my ears, praying it would all just stop. One night, I woke to the sound of glass shattering. I crept out of my room, heart pounding so loud I thought they'd hear me. And there they were, my parents, arguing in the kitchen. My mom's hands were shaking, clutching a broken wine glass. My dad stood across from her, veins bulging, his voice rising with every word. "Don't you dare tell them," he shouted. Her voice cracked. "They have a right to know, James. They're not kids anymore." "Exactly," he snapped. "They'll hate me forever if you open your mouth. Do you want that? Do you want to destroy me in their eyes?" I remember pressing myself against the wall, trying to disappear, terrified they'd see me. But those words, "they'll hate me forever," stuck in my head like a curse. The next morning, they acted like nothing happened. Breakfast was on the table. Dad kissed Mom's cheek. My little sister giggled like the world was normal. But I knew better. Weeks later, Mom sat me down alone. Her eyes were red, tired. "Sweetheart," she whispered. "Sometimes people make mistakes so big, they can't take them back. But I need you to know, it's not your fault. None of it is your fault." I wanted to believe her, but deep down I already sensed the truth. My dad had done something worse than cheating, something worth hiding behind closed doors and whispered threats. The divorce came quick after that. Lawyers, papers, boxes stacked in the hallway. Everyone thought it was just another marriage gone wrong. But the air in our house carried a secret only we knew. Carried it too. And for years, I wondered if maybe I had imagined it all. Maybe the glass never broke. Maybe I misheard. Maybe the secret wasn't real. Until the day my little sister found the letters. She was cleaning out Dad's old office, digging through drawers. That's when she called me, her voice trembling. "Why didn't you tell me? Why didn't you say anything?" My chest tightened. "Tell you what?" I asked. "About Dad. About what he did." I froze. I didn't know how to answer, because inside those letters was proof. Proof of the secret Mom never wanted us to carry. Proof of why she finally walked away. And suddenly, it wasn't just my burden anymore. It was hers too. We sat on the floor, letters scattered between us. She was crying. I wanted to cry too, but I couldn't. My body just shut down. And in that moment, we weren't just kids of divorced parents. We were kids holding the kind of truth that changes everything. I wish I could tell you exactly what those letters said. I wish I could find the courage to say it out loud right here. But even now, years later, it feels like opening a door I can't close again. Because once the truth is spoken, it can't be unheard. And the secret of my parents' divorce is bigger, darker, and far more painful than anyone around us could ever imagine. I thought I'd buried it for good. But telling this story now, I feel it clawing its way back up. And maybe, just maybe, it's time the world finally knew. Because secrets, they rot in silence. And ours, it's been rotting for too long. The letters revealed something about my dad. Something that would change the way we saw him forever. And when my sister confronted Mom about it, Her reaction told us everything. But that's another story. And once I tell it, nothing will ever be the same again. I didn't sleep that night. I just lay there, staring at the ceiling, hearing my sister's voice over and over. Why didn't you tell me? The letters were still on the floor between us, scattered like broken glass. I wanted to pick them up, shove them back in the drawer, pretend they didn't exist. But the words written on those pages, they wouldn't leave me alone. They weren't just love letters. They weren't just apologies. They were confessions. My father had written to another woman, someone who wasn't my mother. And it wasn't the cheating that destroyed me. It was the way he spoke about us, about me, about my sister. In one letter, he wrote, "Sometimes I feel trapped with them, like they're a weight around my neck. If I could start over, I would. But they'll never understand." I remember reading that line, my chest tightening until I couldn't breathe. We were the weight around his neck. Not his pride, not his joy, a burden. My sister read the words out loud, tears streaming down her face. Do you see? Do you see what kind of man he is? But that wasn't even the worst part. Tucked in the back of the drawer was a smaller envelope. Mom's handwriting, a letter she had never sent. It was her voice, breaking through the silence of years. And in it, she wrote something that turned my stomach cold. "I know what you've done, and if the kids ever find out, it won't just be the end of this marriage. It will be the end of you." I read those words a dozen times, trying to make sense of them. What had he done? What could possibly be worse than abandoning us in his heart? My sister wanted answers. Right then, she wanted to storm into Mom's room, shove the letter in her face, demand the truth. But I wasn't ready. I was terrified of what that truth might actually be. Still, she didn't listen. She marched into the kitchen the next morning, letter in hand. I followed, my stomach twisted in knots. Mom was pouring coffee, like it was any other day. And then my sister slammed the paper down on the counter. "What is this?" she shouted. The mug slipped from Mom's hand and shattered on the floor. Her face went pale, like all the blood drained out at once. For a moment, she didn't say anything, just stared at the letter, frozen. "Where did you find this?" she whispered. "In Dad's drawer," my sister said. Her voice cracked. "Why didn't you tell us? Why didn't you tell us the truth?" Mom's hands trembled as she picked up the paper. She pressed it against her chest, her eyes glistening. And then she whispered, almost too quiet to hear, "Because the truth would break you." That silence after, it was suffocating. I felt my whole body tense, waiting for her to explain. But she didn't. She just turned away, her back to us, her shoulders shaking. I wanted to scream. I wanted to grab her and shake her and force the words out of her mouth. Instead, I stood there, paralyzed, caught between anger and fear. Finally, I found my voice. "Mom," I said softly, "please, we're not kids anymore. We deserve to know." She turned, her eyes swollen with tears. "You think you do," she said. "But once you hear it, once you know, you can't unknow. And it will change everything you thought you knew about your father." My sister crossed her arms. "Good. Maybe it's time." But Mom just shook her head. "Not yet," she whispered. "Not like this." That night, she avoided us. She locked herself in her room. And for the first time in my life, I realized the secret of our parents' divorce wasn't just my father's. It was hers too. The next day, something strange happened. My dad called. Out of nowhere. He hadn't spoken to us in months. But his voice was different. Nervous. He asked if we'd been in his office. If we'd found anything. My sister looked at me, her face pale. I lied. I said no. And the silence on the other end of the line told me he didn't believe me. That was when I knew. Whatever the secret was, Dad would do anything to keep it hidden. And Mom? She was trying to protect us. But from what? From the man we called father? Or from the truth itself? That's when it hit me. The letters were just the beginning. There was something bigger. Something darker. Something neither of them wanted us to know. And if we wanted answers, we'd have to dig them out ourselves. Because secrets like this, they don't stay buried forever. And the more I think about it, the more I realize the truth might destroy more than just our family. It might destroy us too. I couldn't stop replaying Dad's phone call in my head. The way his voice cracked, the way he asked if we had found something. It wasn't just curiosity. It was fear. My sister and I didn't talk much that night. We just sat in silence, both of us knowing the same thing but too afraid to say it out loud. Dad wasn't worried about us hating him. He was worried about us knowing him. The next day, I went back to his office. The drawer we'd searched before suddenly looked different. Colder, like it was staring back at me. I pulled everything out this time. Every folder, every envelope. Most of it was normal bank statements, receipts, school reports he'd kept. But then I found it. A manila folder with a single word scrawled on it in pen. Custody. My chest tightened as I opened it. Inside were papers I'd never seen before. Court documents. Police reports. But not about us. About Mom. At least, that's how it looked. According to those papers, Mom wasn't fit to raise us. It listed things, awful things. That she drank too much. That she was violent. That she was unstable. That she once threatened Dad's life. None of it made sense. None of it sounded like the woman who packed our lunches every day, who worked double shifts to keep food on the table, who fell asleep on the couch with her glasses still on because she was too tired to walk to bed. But there it was, in black and white. Official. Stamped. Signed. I showed the papers to my sister. She shook her head, angry tears brimming in her eyes. He made all of this up. He had to. This isn't Mom. I wanted to believe that. But the question that burned in my chest was simple. If all of this was fake, why didn't Mom fight it? Why didn't she tell us? That night, we cornered her again. We laid the papers out on the table. Explain this, my sister demanded. Mom froze. She read every page, her face blank, her eyes cold. And then she whispered, I told you. The truth would change everything. Her hands shook as she gathered the papers, one by one. And then, for the first time in my life, I saw her break. He made me into a monster, she said. He told the courts I was dangerous. He spread lies so believable that even my own parents questioned me. He wanted to destroy me so that no one would ever believe me. And for a while, it worked. Her voice cracked. But the worst part? The worst part wasn't what he told them. It was what he told you. My stomach dropped. What do you mean? She looked at me, her eyes red. Do you remember when he used to tell you I was sick? That I was too tired to come to your events? That I didn't want to be around people? I nodded slowly. I remembered. And then it hit me. He hadn't just lied to the courts. He'd lied to us. He made us believe she didn't care. When all along, she was fighting to survive. I felt sick. 16 years of memories started to twist in my head. Like someone had shuffled the truth and dealt me a new hand. But even as the pieces started to come together, I knew there was more. Because Mom still wouldn't look me in the eye. And when I asked her directly, what was the thing you wrote about in that letter? What was the thing Dad did that you said would be the end of him? She went silent. Her lips trembled. Her eyes darting to the door like someone might be listening. Then she whispered, some truths aren't just painful. They're dangerous. And she refused to say another word. That night I couldn't sleep. I kept hearing her voice. Dangerous. Not sad. Not painful. Dangerous. I pulled out my phone and started searching. Old court records. Old newspaper clippings. Anything with Dad's name on it. And that's when I found it. An old article, buried deep in a local paper's archives. It was about a man investigated years ago, before I was even born. A man with the same name as my father. The article didn't say much. Just that the investigation ended quietly. But it was enough to chill my blood. Because the headline read, Local businessman questioned in missing person case. I stared at it for hours, my hands shaking. Was this real? Was this him? And if it was, what did Mom know that she was too afraid to tell us? I didn't have answers, but I knew one thing for certain. Our parents' divorce wasn't about love falling apart. It wasn't about cheating or custody or arguments. It was about survival. And now, 16 years later, the truth was clawing its way back to the surface. And I had no idea what it would do to us once it got out. I don't know if I've ever felt fear like that before. Not when Dad yelled at us. Not even when I read those court papers. But staring at that headline, local businessman questioned in missing person case. My blood went cold. I showed my sister the article. She didn't believe it at first. She said maybe it was just a coincidence. Maybe it wasn't him. But then she read the date and the town, and she went pale. It was him. The next morning, I confronted Mom. I printed the article and slid it across the kitchen table. Her hands trembled as soon as she saw it. And then, before I could even ask, she whispered, "You weren't supposed to find that." Her eyes filled with tears. "I kept it from you to protect you, to protect all of us. Because the truth doesn't just break families apart. It destroys them." I begged her to explain. I told her I couldn't live another day not knowing. She took a long breath and finally spoke. "Before I married your father, he was different. Charming. Polite. Everyone loved him. But he had a darkness in him that only came out behind closed doors. Control. Anger. Manipulation. And one night, it went further than I ever imagined." Her voice cracked. "There was a woman, a neighbor. She went missing. And your father, he was questioned." My chest tightened. "Did he?" "I don't know." Mom cut in, her voice shaking. "I can't say for certain. But I know this. The night she disappeared, he came home late. His clothes were dirty. He told me if anyone asked, he'd been with me all night." Her hands clutched the table, white-knuckled. "I lied for him, because I was scared, because I was already in too deep, because he made me believe that if I didn't, something worse would happen." I felt the room spinning. The man I'd called Dad. The man who tucked me in at night. The man who taught me how to ride a bike. And the man who might have. I couldn't even finish the thought. My sister stood up, tears streaming down her face. "Why didn't you leave him then? Why did you stay? Why did you bring us into this?" Mom broke down sobbing. "Because I was 18. Because I didn't know better. Because he convinced me I was nothing without him. And by the time I realized, I already had you. And all I could think about was keeping you safe." Safe. The word echoed in my head like a cruel joke. Had we ever really been safe? That night I couldn't sleep. Every shadow felt heavier. Every sound felt louder. And the thought that wouldn't leave me was this. What if Mom wasn't telling us everything? So I went back to Dad's office. One last time. I searched every drawer, every folder, every hidden corner. And then, taped underneath the desk, I found it. A small metal box. Inside, there were photographs. Dozens of them. Some of us. Some of Mom. And some of people I didn't recognize. But one photograph made my blood run cold. It was the missing woman from the article. Smiling. Standing in front of our old house. And on the back, in Dad's handwriting, it said, "She should have stayed quiet." I dropped the photo, my hands shaking uncontrollably. In that moment, everything clicked. The control, the lies, the fear, the silence. Our parents' divorce wasn't just about love falling apart. It wasn't about arguments or betrayal. It was about survival. It was about a secret so dark, it nearly swallowed us whole. And now, after 16 years, the secret wasn't hidden anymore. It was sitting in my hands, staring back at me. The photo burned in my mind. The words on the back carved into me like a scar. She should have stayed quiet. For the first time in my life, I realized something terrifying. Maybe Mom wasn't the only one in danger. Maybe we still were.